that they need to watch later on. Bien, y bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Welcome, welcome. Muy bien, espero que ustedes estén bien. I hope you are well. It is, hoy es Día de la Hispanidad, Día de la Raza. We just passed that Day of the Race instead of Columbus Day, because not so welcome Columbus Day in Latin America, yeah? They celebrate Dia de la Raza. Dia de la Raza is celebrated even back in Spain. They have a big parade for it. It's usually held on the, is it on the 11th or the 12th? No estoy segura, not sure. But instead of celebrating Columbus, who had a long history of bringing smallpox, amongst other nasty things, and enslaving people, they celebrate all of the racial components and all of the various peoples, indigenous, African, Latino, Africano, all of them that come into the melting pot of the New World. So, okay. And, okay. Vamos a empezar. We're going to work on, with pronunciation, mainly that letter G. Today, we're going to start off with that. We're going to practice a lot with numbers. And since we're a small group, I may not have to send you out into small individual rooms. We'll see if anybody else joins a little bit late. If not, we'll just do it amongst us here. A lot of work with numbers. We'll make sure we introduce the numbers that go beyond, you know, from 30 up to 100. So a lot of our practice will be involving that. And then we're going to start to talk about the various verbs that are used in Spanish, like the super common verbs that are the to be, the state of being verbs, and what kind of forms they take, what you need to know about using them, and we'll see some examples. So heavy duty on numbers today. You will want to have on hand for later, for the end of our number session, any old piece of scrap paper. You know, it can be, you know, the back of some letter you don't want anymore, because it's nothing for posterity. Just something to write with, because I'm going to give everybody a short dictado after we've practiced our numbers. And the purpose of the dictado, which means dictation, is for listening comprehension, which is really the most important skill that you want to master regarding numbers. So that means that when you hear somebody say a number, can you write it down as a digit, not as a word, but just as the numbers, the digits themselves? You know, so in other words, does the digit, the number pop into your head? Are you recognizing what the numbers are? So do have something, scribble paper, nothing fancy, and something to write with for a little later on. Okay. Vamos a empezar con la letra G. We're going to begin with the letter G. And I will bring this up on our share screen. La letra G. La letra G. G. It sounds like, hey, you. G. Gets a little more throat action here. La letra G. We look at the letter G closely together, how we pronounce that, close to the letter C, because just as, you know, Spanish is very phonetic. Most letters, the majority of them, most letters make only one sound, unlike English, which has tons of silent letters and strange things. But there are a few letters in the Spanish alphabet that get two different sounds, okay? And the letter G, the sounds it gets, hard or soft, depends on the letter coming after it. And it follows the same kind of guidelines that we had with C from last week. So just like la letra C, the letter C has a k hard sound. If it's a CA, CO, CU, or like CRCL, C and a consonant combination. And then it goes into a soft sound like the S, right? Like our English S. If it is CE, CI combination. So just like la letra C, just like that, la letra G, the letter G, la letra G, it follows the same kind of guidelines. The letter coming after G, after G, determines whether it goes to a hard sound, which is G, 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 like in English, como en inglés. Or if it goes into a H, H, H sound, an H sound, an H sound. And let's go back and look very briefly. This letter here called J, that throaty H, okay? That J sound, we call it J, they call that letter J, of ojo, jamón, jabón, bajo. The ch sound is the exact same soft sound that G will make if it is G-E-G-I combination. So, letra G, the easy part is going to be the hard G sound because it's what you expect, okay? And that is if the letter after G is an A, an O, an U, or like a GL, GR. In other words, G and a consonant. Okay, so it's what you expect. So I want you to practice these words with me. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. Voy a engrandecer esto sí un poquito más. Okay, vale, mejor, better. Okay, so we've got agua. Repitan.
Agua.
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 Agua. G-U-G-G, right? Agua. Okay. Gafas.
Gafas.
Gafas is
Gafas.
one of the two words they use for eyeglasses. Lentes is the other one. It's a regional variation. People use one word or the other. Gafas. Okay. The thing they make tires out of. Goma.
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 Okay. Here is one of the words for vegetable. Okay, one of them, which looks kind of like legume. We've got a word legume in English, right? Legumbre.
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 Legumbre. Bien. Oh, if we've got G and a consonant, like the word for magnificent, we get this pronunciation. Magnifico.
Magnifico.
Magnifico. Magnifico.
Magnifico.
The word for big, which is going to come into play soon because we're going to start to look at description words that use am, is, are. Grande.
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 Grande. Yeah, grande. We've got another G consonant combination. This is one of the words for happy. Alegre.
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 This is not a cognate with the allergy medicine Allegra, but
Allegra.
it has a, yeah, alegre. Alegre. GR, alegre. Okay. And then we're going to pronounce all of these. GUA is going to become what they call a diphthong, meaning that U and the A both get equal pronunciation. Guarda.
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 Guarda is
Guarda.
a command. It's somebody telling you, hey, keep this. Okay. Yeah, put it in your pocket, put it in your bag. Yeah. Guarda. Guarda.
Guarda.
Guarda. Okay. So the g is hard. Here's the part that might be more challenging. It's that throaty kind of H sound, the h sound, okay? And we're going to combine, and it's the same sound you get with the jota. So we're going to look at this. Here's the name George. Jorge.
Jorge.
Jorge. Jorge. Yeah, that's hard. Now, here's one of the ones that's really, really tough. A lot of people use this word often. They say, oh, generally, or in a general sense. and it is general.
General.
General. We punch the
General.
N. General. It cannot be general. And general.
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 General. This one is tough because we tend to want to put a j sound, right? Because we have general, but there is not a j sound. General. Let's look at the next one. Here is a word that's sort of an equivalent for personas. Personas is a cognate. It looks like the English word person, and it means person, persona. But this is a general word that's used to say people. Gente.
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 Sí, gente. Gente. Okay. You'll hear a lot of people, especially musicians, singers. When they want to rev up the crowd, they'll yell at the crowd, ah, mi gente, my people. Yeah, they're calling out to their followers, mi gente. Okay, mi gente.
Gente.
Okay, and now we've got the word for a page out of a book, but we won't use page. Okay, so you got to fight that tendency that you want to say page. It's página.
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 Página. Página. You will notice sometimes some words like página get an accent mark. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you sound, that doesn't mean that the ah gets a different sound. Ah always sounds like ah, that pa part of página. That just means we punch that syllable more than the other two, right? It's not página or página, it's página.
Página.
Página, okay? And there are rules for that, but you don't really need to know what they are right now because it will complicate things. Okay, here's a word and we're going to look at it all together and then we're going to separate it into two parts, okay? Actually, we're going to separate it into three parts. Here's the word for gym, the place where you go to play hoops, all right? And it is like our word, but it is pronounced differently, all right? So it's pronounced gimnasio.
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 Sí, gimnasio. No es correcto. It is not correct. They see gymnasio. No, that's not good. Okay, so we're going to break this apart because this word, actually, you know how to say it, but if we break it apart into syllables, 3 syllables, it makes it a little bit easier to break it down into smaller components, and then you can slide them together.
Gimnasio.
Sio. Yeah, that S-I-O, the I-O is a
Sio.
diphthong. It's 2 vowels that slide together, right? And we pronounce them together equally. Gimnasio.
Gimnasio.
Gimnasio. Gimnasio.
Gimnasio.
Okay. Here is the last 3 are ones that give people trouble. We want to say energia, because we have energy. So yes, this word is a cognate. Again, it looks like an English word. It means what you think. Energia.
Energía.
Yeah.
Energia.
Energía.
Energía.
Energia.
Energía.
Energy, whether you're talking about your own energy, how much oomph you got today, or electrical energy. Okay, it's the same word, energia. And
Energía.
there we do have an accent mark on the E. So we put a little more punch on the ia. Okay, energia.
Energía.
And you'll notice with gimnasio, the sio all slides together, sio at the end, gimnasio. But if we put an accent mark, if we see an accent mark, it means we need to punch one of those vowels a little more than the others. So that word becomes energia.
Energía.
Energia. Yeah? Okay. Energia. And then we've got a word that I am taking apart already. This is a word that a lot of people use. You know, some people need to find a special kind of restaurant or ask for special kind of dishes at a restaurant. because they do not eat meat. And if you are one of those kind of people, or you're out eating with somebody who is, you're looking for a vegetarian, right, dish, or a vegetarian restaurant, and that is vegetariano. Vegetariano.
Vegetariano.
Riano. And notice this ria, the no accent mark, so that ya slides together. So it becomes be, he, ta, ria, no.
Vegetariano.
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 Vegetariano. Okay, bien.
Mm.
Vegetariano. Vegetariano. Okay, vale. Vegetariano. So we've got our je examples. We've got our g examples. Let's take a look at a special little case that happens with la letra G. There are some words that deserve a little bit of a special look. The GUE and GUI. Now, normally we tell you pronounce every letter that you see, but these two combinations, GUE and GUI, the U goes silent. Okay, the U goes silent because the U has a job, and the job of the U is to stand there and to force the G to go into g mode, because GU dictates it'll be a hard G. Good. Okay. But we don't pronounce the U, so it won't be GUE and GUI. You're going to see below there is a case when that can happen, but it'll be ge, gi. Ge, gi. Okay, I'm going to show you a quick little thing with the bold print. The U is often there because if I had GE next to each other, it would sound like he. But because we don't want it to sound like he, but we need a GE combination, we have to put a U in there, and the job of the U is to make the G go into hard g mode, but we're going to ignore the G in this combination of GUE, GUI. Just like you ignore the U in the QUE, QUI, right? K,
Right.
key, right? K,
Yeah.
key. The U goes silent. Once in a while, the U goes silent. This is the other situation where the U goes silent. So we're going to have this word, which is guerra.
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 Right. We're going to go with the G sound in a GUE, GUI. Guerra is war. Okay. Guia.
Guia.
Guia is a guide, whether it's on paper or a human being who's giving you a tour. Here is a word that means, hey, get there on time. Llegue.
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 Okay. If somebody says, llegue a las 8, llegue a las 8, get there at 8. Yeah. Llegue a las 8. Llegue a las 8. Okay. Let's look another one here. This is also a command. It says, hey, give me my money. Pague.
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 Pague. Okay. Here is a word that is often heard. It is also a command. That's why these have exclamation points. This word means keep going, or continue on, or follow. Okay. Sigue.
Sigue.
Sigue. Right?
Sigue.
You hear the ge, at the end, but you don't hear the u. Sigue. Sigue. Sigue adelante. Keep going straight ahead. Sigue adelante. Sigue. Sigue. And a word that's built on sigue means the following or the next thing. Like somebody said, oh, like you're in a meeting, right? And somebody goes, número uno. Muy importante, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then they go, siguiente, next. Next up. Yeah, this word means next up. Siguiente.
Siguiente.
Siguiente. Siguiente.
Siguiente.
That's a long word, isn't it? Siguiente. Wow, 1, 2, 3 vowels together. Siguiente, but we ignore that ooh, siguiente. Okay. Siguiente, with somebody that just go just out of the blue, ooh, siguiente, that means, oh, they are segging on. Oh, our word seg comes from the same thing. They are moving on to the next point on the agenda or the next thing. Okay. Once in a while. This is just, you're not going to see this often. So we're not going to mess with this a lot. But once in a while, you see a little double dot, which in German is called an umlaut. It's called the diéresis in Spanish. If the GUE or GUI has the double dot, that little, what the Germans call an umlaut, what that means is, oh, you know what? Everybody knows we ignore the U in GUE, GUI. But if you see the double dot, it means, oh, go ahead and do pronounce it. Break that rule and go ahead and pronounce it. I am not exaggerating to tell you there are only a handful of words that do that. And beyond this, I would have to think really hard to even come up with another example. But once in a while, you do hear or see these. One is pinguino.
Penguino.
Pinguino, penguin, right?
Pinguino.
Pinguino, which I was going to say isn't native, but well, if you're in Argentina and Chile, yes, they are. Pinguino, pinguino. Here's a word that actually you hear a lot, like if a mom is scolding their kid, or if they just say, oh, I am so embarrassed, I'm so ashamed. Vergüenza. Vergüenza.
Vergüenza.
Yeah, vergüenza. So go ahead and pronounce the U. And this one, which is very slangy, you hear it in Mexico, it's kind of like it's not meant to be derogatory. I think people used to think it was derogatory, but it isn't really. It's sort of a slang term for a blonde person. In other words, a lot of times they'll use this to, if they think you're American. And sometimes they even just use this to like everybody, if they're accosting you in an open market, outdoor market kind of setting. So you'll hear this term like yelled out, like güero.
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 Okay.
Güero.
But typically it was a word that meant or blondie. Kind of like gringo, I guess. Okay. So that is our G. Yeah, I'm gonna point out, I'm gonna go backwards and point out one extra thing. This letter D. We're gonna take a quick look at D, because again, it isn't long. Letra D. You know, a lot of letters in Spanish sound just like the English, like the M, the N, right? A P sounds basically like, although less explosive. It's a softer P. The B is a B, but softer, right? A T is actually even softer, right? And when I say softer, I mean, you know, we have kitty, we do lots of puff of air consonants, and Spanish does not. So if people say, oh, you know, I have a hard time understanding Mexicans when they talk because it sounds mushy or sloppy. That isn't really mushy or sloppy. It's that the consonants in Spanish do go much softer, and they don't get that explosive breath of air that we have in English. And that's what happens with D. But there is one little variation. And as you hear more people speaking, you will start to detect this more. It is not a deal breaker with pronunciation, but it is a fine point that helps your pronunciation get better and also helps you understand words that people are saying. D has kind of two sounds, sort of. It'll sound like an English D if it starts off a word or if it's next to a consonant, right? letter that is not A-E-I-O-U. Okay, so this will be like what you expect. Donde,
¿Dónde?
¿Dónde?
right? But it won't be donde. You know that
Mhm.
duh, David. Yeah. It'll be, it's still a little, it's kind of, you know, take the foot off the gas pedal. Donde, where?
¿Dónde?
We have this word drama.
Drama.
Drama. Looks like drama. It means a play.
Mhm.
Here's another, what we call a question word, the word for when. Cuando,
¿Cuándo?
cuando.
¿Cuándo?
And we get the d sound. And this word again, grande,
¿Dónde?
Grande.
grande. Okay. And then we've got a word that means inside, dentro,
Dentro.
dentro,
Dentro.
dentro. Okay. So this is when a D is the lead
Dentro.
off, when it's the first letter of a word, or when it's paired up next to a consonant. It gets that da, da, da sound. You will, as you hear more people speak, hear this separate D sound. And it's not a deal breaker. So if you forget to pronounce this D as a TH, people still understand you. It does not, but it makes you sound better. It makes you sound more native, okay? Sometimes the D gets a TH sound, yeah, sometimes it does. So, but again, it depends on where the D is in the word. So if the D is the very last letter of the word hanging off the end, okay? Or if it's kind of sandwiched between two vowels, okay? And you'll notice like here we have sandwiched between two vowels, yeah? We have sandwich, it's the meat in the sandwich. It's sandwiched between two vowels. Here it's at the tail end. When D has that position in a word, it will go to a much softer TH sound. So here we've got both a hard D, consonant and D, 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 and a th, th, th. Here's the word for truth, verdad,
Verdad.
verdad,
Verdad.
¿Verdad?
verdad. And it won't be bear, it'll be be, right? Verdad, verdad.
Verdad.
Verdad is a really important word. Besides meaning truth, which does mean it is also used to indicate a couple things. People may say it as a question, verdad, really?
Yeah.
Okay, like, por ejemplo. So you hear this as kind of just by itself sometimes. But if you hear it as a question, like I could say, casi son las 10. It's almost 10 o'clock, ¿verdad? It's almost 10 o'clock, right? It's a tag question. It's like saying, right? Really? Isn't that true? Casi son las 10. It's almost 10, ¿verdad? Really? Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, ¿verdad? Verdad is also used to when somebody is agreeing with you. Es verdad. It's true. Es verdad. Yeah, that's right. You know, when somebody is saying, yep, that's right. Oh, yeah, you got it. Verdad. Es verdad. Yeah. Okay, so verdad. You hear it dropped a lot. Here's a word that means each or every. Cada.
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 But it won't be cada. It'll be cada.
Cada.
Cada. Cada. Okay. Here's a word you're going to hear towards the end of our course. It is a form of a verb, and it means I can. I am able. I'm able to sew. I'm able to. I am able to ride a bike. I am able to ride a horse. You know, whatever. Puedo.
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 And notice we hear all of those sounds, the U, E, both the U, E get pronounced. It's a diphthong. They glide together. Puedo.
Puedo.
Puedo. Okay. That kind of political rally saying, si se puede, which was used a lot by Cesar Chavez originally. Si se puede, yes, you can. Puede is not the I form. Puede is you can. Si, puede, but puedo, I can. And here's another one that's got a soft D because it's hanging off the back end there. Libertad.
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 So in the big spectrum of pronunciation and Spanish being very phonetic, the D is not a deal breaker. If you make it a little too hard, people will still know what you mean. The ones that will get you in trouble in terms of if you mispronounce, it, it'll be hard for a native speaker to understand you, are these vowels. Believe it or not, these very first letters you do. If you mispronounce the A, if you mispronounce the E, if you mispronounce the I, if you mispronounce the O, that doesn't happen too often. If you mispronounce the O, if you mispronounce the vowels, you set yourself up for being misunderstood kind of easily, because there are a lot of words, but totally different words that are spelled differently. But if you get the vowel pronunciation wrong, they won't know which word you mean. Oh, they could be saying this, they could be saying that. I don't really know which word they're saying. So the hardest thing with pronunciation is to make sure that your English vowels do not take over any words you pronounce. No no silent E. That's for darn sure. Always eh. No but e. Yeah. No like pot, cot, got. Yeah. It's always oh and always the ooh, unless we've got the k key. Yeah. So the sounds to work on most diligently are these vowels.
Yeah.
Okay, really work at getting them right. Yeah. Okay, believe it or not, a lot of people think that if they can't roll an R, it's a deal breaker. And that isn't really true. It does help a lot. There are differences. There are some words that are exactly spelled alike, except one will have a single R, one will have a double R. So, okay, maybe. But from context, even if you couldn't roll an R, people will know what you mean. Okay, so I'm going to send you a video for this coming week on the feared double R and single R. The rolling your R thing. Some of you probably can and don't think it's any big deal. Some people honestly go their whole life and say, I have such a hard time rolling an R. Ere. There is a hard roll, the R, like these, R, yeah. And there is a trill, but it's a flip it trill, ere. I'm going to send you a video to watch for this coming week and to practice. It is one of the best videos I've ever seen on how to roll an R, because the secret is in your tongue and letting your tongue just kind of flap like dead weight and pushing air through it. Pushing air, that's going to be the key. Okay. So I'll have you watch that, and we'll look at these last couple letters, which are not huge deal breakers, but the ere, it is important to try to get to the point where you can roll an R, okay, even if it's a little bit. And it for some of you, it will take work. For others, it'll be like, nah, not hard. I can just do this, but the video will help quite a lot. Okay. Bien. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any question on our G, or any other letter for that matter? No? Okay. Yeah. Let's work some numbers. Let's work some numbers. Numbers, los números, Our numbers are truly, truly survival skill things. They just are. Because people will always be giving you numbers for prices and for addresses and for how many items are in a package or what have you. But making sure we've got the 1 through 10 words down pat is important, because we're always going to recycle the 1 through 10 and those higher numbers. They're recycled,
Yeah.
they're reused in the higher numbers. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look at these and we're going to practice some numbers. Oh, since we've got 4 of us, I think I am going to send you into some little groups. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to put a share screen on right now. Aquí, bien. So I'm going to model the 1 through 10 first. Right now, we're just working on the 1 through 10. And you want to make sure you get your pronunciation quite good with the 1 through 10. Okay, so I want you to repeat them with me, and then you're going to repeat them with a partner in a small breakout room on single digits to repeat a phone number. Okay, and when we're done with the review. So here's our review. The word 0, we won't have a ZZ. Ooh, whoops, we might. Ooh, oh, bien. Okay, she had to go for a bit. 0,
0,
0.
0,
1,
1,
1,
2,
2,
2,
3,
3.
Ay. 4,
4,
4,
5,
5,
5,
6,
6,
6,
7,
7,
7,
8,
8,
8,
9,
9,
9,
10.
10.
10.
Okay. Vale.
10.
So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you can get these out of sequence. Yeah. My teenage students would always be, you show them the 7, the digit 7 is like, ¿cuál es el número? What's the number? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you don't want to have to count all the way up there, right? You want to be able to pull that out of sequence, and just spontaneously say it. So that is the purpose of doing this drill. And I'm going to say, take turns, right? Take turns. One of you take a phone number, another of you, and you're going to see this in your Zoom room. And since we've got, okay, I think either her signal dropped or she had to go. So what we're going to do is, we're going to, I'm going to keep one person with me and send 2 of you off together. I just want you to practice saying the numbers in sequence and kind of coach each other. So what I mean by coach each other is I'm going to take, I'm going to take this one that has a lot of repetition here. This 57 or 5273777. You're going to take the super liquor. Yeah, the super liquor ad. There we go. We're going to take this one as our practice one. Okay. And just say each number separately. 5, 2, 7.
3, 7,
7, 7, 7. Okay, because it's got so much repetition, we're doing that one as our example. But if you hear your partner saying, for example, 5, 2, 7, 5, 2, 7, gently and kindly remind that, that's 7. I think it's 7. 7, yeah. Help coach each other if you hear a little stumble, or if you come back from the practice and it's like, couldn't get this number, then tell me when you're done. See, bien, good with that? Okay, vale, bien. Oh, okay. Linda had to leave for a thing. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to just send 2 of you into a breakout room. One of you will stay with me. Ooh, I've got to sign manually to make this happen. Okay. Yay. Okay. Kevin, I'm going to send you and Pam into a room. Richard, I'm going to keep you with me.
Okay.
And you're probably only going to need like 3 minutes, right? To do this. Creo, I
Yeah.
think.
Sure.
So I'm going to open this up. You're going to see a little button that'll say join,
Right.
and
Okay.
hit the joined button. And Richard,
Okay.
you don't have to hit any button. And then I will send this screen into your breakout room so that you can actually see it, because who's going to memorize all those numbers? I can't do that.
Okay.
I'm hopeless at memorizing numbers. Okay, yeah. And I hope you can see my screen, yes?
Yes.
Okay, magnifico. Can you see the screen with the numbers here or no?
Yes.
Okay. Magnifico. Great, great, great. Okay. I'm going to have you look at the Campus Common Dog Salon.
Okay.
¿Cuál es el número de teléfono? What's the phone number there?
9, 2, 5, 6, 9, 1, 1.
Bien. Okay. The only one I'm going to correct you on a little bit, we're going to do a little tweak with that number 6. Seis.
6.
Seis.
6.
Seis. Seis.
6.
Bien. Bien. Seis. There you go. These are all things we have to do. You know, we have to tweak things when we're learning them. We're not going to be perfect. That's cool. Lots of it. Richard, give me the I'll take a turn. I'll take a turn with pandemonium. Pandemonium at the bottom.
Okay.
6, 3, 2, 9, 5, 2, 5. Bien. Okay. I want you to look at the ProTech security service systems. 9 and 8.
9, 8, 8, 4, 3, 5, 7.
7.
Yeah.
Perfecto. 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 Bueno, fantástico. I'm going to take the Garcias and Sons fence contractor. Oh my God, that is who up. No, no, that's not who I have coming. I have a fence contractor coming today. Here we go. 9, 9, 4, 8, 6, 9, 9, 1. Okay. Okay. How about you take a look at the fine Italian cuisine up in the corner?
3, 3, 9, 5, 7, 7, 5.
Bien. Okay. Yeah, that 0 word is cero.
0, 0.
Cero. 0, 7, 7, 5. Fantastico. Great. Okay. We're going to bring people back because I think they probably had enough time. We're going to take a look at another one of these when we're done. It will give them about a minute. It's not often that you really get a phone number, but you know, it helps because it's something we all can do to practice the 1 through 10 sequence, but practice it out of order because that's the difficult part of it. And you know, once you get over that little hump, the other stuff comes easier. I'm leaving that in their room until they finish. We'll have one more of those, and then we're going to do some more practice, but just with things on the screen, counting things up. And numbers is when you think about it, a huge topic.
Yeah,
and
makes a big difference.
It makes a big difference. And, you know, in a marketplace, you're looking to buy stuff. Oh, man. I mean, it smacks you up in the face right away. And then, of course, people are talking fast, right? Well, they're not talking fast. They're talking at normal rate, but it sounds fast to you and I. So, you know, it's like, oh, my God.
Paying for something, you know, using money and all that.
Oh, yeah. Using money. I mean, really, flight numbers. You know, how many times have we had a flight number that changed?
Oh,
midway
yeah.
through?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So,
Mm.
you know, I actually was helping a poor gentleman with that in in Phoenix airport once, and they changed his flight, and I'm like, oh my God. And I ran over to him, that they've changed your flight and they've changed your gate. And he was like, huh? And I said, look, I know it says on your ticket, this number, but look at the screen, look at this. And then I repeated the numbers to him. I will walk you to gate 8.
Oh, that's so nice.
Thank you,
Yeah.
But you know, it's tough. It's tough. Okay. Vale. How'd it go? Any questions on this?
No, it was
Kevin,
good.
Kevin? No? Yeah? Okay, we're gonna do one more of these and then we're gonna do a different kind of number practice. So we're gonna do another one. Ooh, momentito. You're gonna see these. You're gonna see these numbers instead. Same thing, take turns. One of you does one of you does the next one, right? You'll see this when you go into your little Zoom rooms. And again, this won't take very long. So hit your join button, and Richard, you're gonna stay with me. And I will get this on the share screen. Aquí vamos, here we go.
All
Okay,
right.
vale, bueno, bien, got my little, yikes. Got my little button in the way on that bottom. Well, maybe it's only showing up for me because I'm the host. I'm gonna hope. Okay, Richard, take mid-cal body shop.
All right. 9, 4, 3, 2, 7, 7, 8.
Your siete is much better. Sí, mucho mejor, much better. Bien, bien, bien. Okay, I'm going to look at the veterinary. 702 831 0433. Bien. Okay. How about Hoss and Hogs?
5, 4, 1, 8, 3, 2, 8.
Perfecto. Muy bien, muy bien. I'm going to get the getter's letters because it's got too much repetition. I want you to try different things. 4, 7, 8, 9, 9, 9. Boring. Okay.
Good one.
Bien. Okay. Take either one. Can you read the custom electric, or is the share screen in the way there?
Yeah.
Okay.
5, 5, 8, 7, 7, 7, 3, 4.
Excelente, excelente. Y yo el último número. I will take the last number. El dentista. 956 6116. Bien. Okay.
Perfect.
And your siete was much better, Richard. That really, really worked well. So we're going to bring everybody back. And then we're going to look at some other stuff. And I'm squinting a little bit here because I got my contacts in and I changed my screen size. So I'm not frowning, I'm just squinting. Okay. A ver. Bien, bien. Excelente. Excelente. Bien. Aquí vienen todos. Okay. ¿Alguna pregunta? Any question on those? Sí or no?
No.
No?
No.
It's a good way to get, say, your numbers out of sequence. Yeah.
Mhm.
To practice what they do. Okay. We're going to review a little bit what some of the numbers, some of these other numbers are that go a little bit higher than 10. We're going to review that. And then we're going to practice with these some more. We're going to practice with using I. There is or there are with these. But first, we're going to review the numbers that go from, where did my 11 go? I used that. There it is. Okay. Vale. We're just going to practice again, reviewing how they sound, right? And instead of uno, one, because now I got double digits, right? It is a
Mhm.
special word like we get 11, which doesn't look anything like one. Once,
Once.
Once.
once, once, right? It is not the English word once. Once, once. We pronounce what we
Once.
see. Once.
Once.
Okay? But we take the word dos, two, and we just put an e on the end. Doce.
Doce.
Doce. Okay? So we have once plumas, 11 pens, 12 galletas,
Cookies.
12 cookies.
Galletas.
Okay,
Okay.
galletas, sí, galletas.
Galletas.
Again, we take the word tres, three, we put an e on the end, we get trece.
Trece.
Trece pelotas. Trece pelotas.
Trece
Trece
pelotas.
pelotas. 3 balls, okay, de billar. Okay.
Okay.
Pardon. Then we get again a special word for 14. It looks a little bit like cuatro. It's got a C, it's got a T, it's got an R, but things are like, not in the same sequence, right? So we've got catorce.
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 14 bombones, 14 bonbons, chocolates.
bonbons,
Sweet.
okay.
Yeah, bombones. Yeah, bombones son bombones, bonbons. We don't use that very much in English, but little like super good chocolates. Yeah, bombones are just not some, squatted out of a squirter machine. It's like they're good chocolates. Bombones. Bombones. Bien. And then we got quince, which doesn't look like cinco. Quince.
Quince.
Quince. Think of something being very keen. Wow, that's keen. Yeah,
Quince.
Quince naranjas. Naranjas, oranges.
Oranges.
Quince
Naranjas.
naranjas. Bien.
Hey, Marilyn.
Okay.
Oh, pardon, a quick question.
Sí, sí.
Yeah, so why, when you go from 11 to 15, we're using those words, and then 16, you start using like 10 plus? They just did that. Okay.
They just do.
They just did.
Yeah. There are a number of languages that do that. Oh, for the same reason that 12 doesn't look anything like 2. I
Okay.
guess that's all
Oh,
I
yeah.
can tell you. It's just the way it is. Yeah, it's just the way it is. It might go back to a Latin thing. I'm not really quite sure. But yeah, there you go. So now, yes, you're right. Now they go to the math problem thing. It's a 10 and 6, 10 and 7, 10 and 8, 10 and 9 until we get to the next double digit, right? So each time we get to a multiple of 10, we get to a different word. That part is not too terribly foreign to our concept in English, but let's take a look at a review of these. We've got 10 and 6. 16.
16.
16.
You say,
Now, there are two things you can do if you write it out. Which you're not going to do, right? I think it is
Right.
much more common for them to smash it together into one word like that. But technically, the Real Academia Española, the big organization that writes the rules, yes, they have one of those, says, you know what? If you write out the numbers as words, both of
Okay.
these formats are acceptable.
Okay.
But in fact, when you hear people say this word, no matter how, if they were to write it out as a word and spell it as 16 or 16, I guarantee you it is pronounced the exact same way. They're going to say it fast and they're going to slam it all together. 16.
you say.
And look at what happens when we slam it all together. That Z, zeta, at the end of
Mhm.
10 changes into a C.
Right.
And the E, the letter E, the Y, the Y. Y by itself, Y by itself is the word and. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that changes to the same sound, the letter I, 16. So it sounds all the same. Yeah. Just so you
Yeah.
know. Yeah. It's
Okay.
a spelling thing. 16. And now we're going to look at 17. 17.
17.
17.
17.
Yeah. And if you really want to count those up, they are 17. Okay. Bien. 18.
18.
18. 18. Right? Then we get
18.
19.
19.
19.
19.
Yeah, 10 and 9, 10 and 9. And then, of course, now we're up to the next multiple of 10. So we're up to a different word altogether, which is 20.
20.
And you want to
20.
make sure you pronounce it
Mm.
as 20, like the vein in your arm or the veins in your
Vein.
body, right?
20.
There is a word, viento, and this is why that whole pronunciation becomes a thing. There is a word viento, viento, but notice it's not V-E-I, it's V-I-E, so it's pronounced viento, means
Viento.
wind, wind, like
Okay.
it's a windy day outside and the trees are all blowing, wind. So you don't want to pronounce it viento because that means wind. And if you say it as viento, they're going to think you're talking about the wind, the weather, and you're not. You want to say 20, 20,
20.
20, 20.
20.
Okay. Oops. And we're going to come back to 20 in a minute. We're going to segue to this. We're going to use I. We're going to add one little element. And that one little element is the word there is or there
Okay.
are. This is technically a verb. It is even more technically an impersonal verb, meaning it's not talking about like somebody doing anything. Yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit soon about why that will come into play. Okay, I means there is or there are. So, bombones. We're going to count up the bombones, see?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Hay 16
Hay 16
bombones.
bombones.
And the word order will be I, there are, because I just says something exists. It's just there. It's not doing anything, yeah, it's just there. I,
Okay.
and then we have the number, 16 bombones, the things that
Sí.
they are, right? Okay, galletas. Okay, ooh, we got to insert a number.
Okay. Hay 20 galletas.
Hay 20 galletas.
20.
Hay 20 galletas. There are 20 cookies. Hay 20 galletas. Now we
20.
got pelotas. Little balls. These are little ping pong balls. Pelotas. Hay
18.
18.
18.
Let's
Yeah.
build it into a longer sentence. Hay 18
18 pelotas.
pelotas. We're just saying they exist. There they are. The balls aren't doing it. The balls are not bouncing. The balls are not getting lost. They're just there. Hay 18 pelotas. Okay. Ornamentos. ¿Cuántos? How many? ¿Cuántos hay? How many are there?
Hay 11
Muy bien. Let's string it
ornamentos.
into a whole sentence. Hay
Hay
11
ornamentos.
ornamentos. I could say adornos,
Hay
but
11
ornamentos, everybody knows.
ornamentos.
Hay 11. Hay 11. See? Okay. Naranjas. Oranges. Naranjas.
15. Hay 15.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hay 15. Hay 15 naranjas. Hay 15 naranjas. Here we got globos, balloons, and these little speckled things at the top, they are also count as balloons, okay? So you have to count the top row here.
Okay. Hay 18
18.
globos.
18. Hay
18
18 globos.
globos.
Hay 18 globos. Bien, ok. Hay 18. Okay, bien, fantástico. Good. We're going to take a quick look at what happens with the 20 and 30s? Okay, what happens with the 20s is a lot like what happens with the 16, 17, 18. People usually smash them together into one big word, but it's essentially still 20 and 1, 20 and 2, 20 and 3. And 30 will do the same thing, except they tend to spell it more with that little and word, the Y, the Y. Okay. And actually, in the last couple of years, I've seen people even with the 30 changing that from a Y to an I. So, it kind of doesn't really matter the spelling, whether they use the Y or the I. What matters is that you hear that sequence and that it is 20 and 1, 20 and 2. They do literally say and, but it will sound like it's going fast. Okay. So, I want you to practice these numbers with me in sequence, right? First,
Okay.
just 20.
20,
20,
21.
21,
Okay. 22.
22,
22,
23.
23,
23,
Okay. 24.
24,
25.
25,
25,
26.
26,
27.
27,
27,
28.
28,
29.
29,
29. Okay. Then we get up to the next iteration, the next multiple of 10, and we get a different word. Now, you're going to notice, I'm just going to preview for you what these are going to be in a little bit. We're going to do a dictation first, but after we do our dictation, we're going to do a dictation on the easy stuff first. But I just want you to notice that in English, when we get to the double-digit numbers, we go 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. It's always a T at the end. They're going to have an equivalent to the T of 4T, 50, 6T, 7T, 8T, 9T. They're going to have an equivalent of that. And you will see what that is in just a little bit. Okay. But what I want to do first is I want to do a little quick dictation. So you want to grab a pen and any old crummy little, receipt, some little scrap of paper. And this is just to do a quick listening comprehension drill. Uy, ¿dónde está? Where did my drill go? Aquí está. Here it is. Change my screen. Okay, bye. Just write down. I'm going to say each number 3 times. Once really slowly, once kind of normal, one fast. Okay. And they're going to be 10 numbers, yeah. And, a lot of times I ask people to repeat numbers in English. I mean, yeah, because I wasn't paying attention, because I wasn't just, I don't know. But they'll be all out of order. And I just want you to write the digit. Don't write out words, because nobody does that. They don't do it either. Okay.
Okay.
First one, 5. 5. 5. Okay. Second one, what are those? 10. 10.
Yeah.
10. Okay. Third one will be 18. 18. 18. Okay. Fourth one is going to be 4. 4. 4. Okay. Fifth one is going to be 7. 7. 7. Okay. Number 6 is 13. 13. 13. Number 7 will be 11. 11. 11. Okay. Eighth number will be 20. 20. 20. Okay. Ninth number will be 14. 14. 14. And the very last one will be 16. 16. 16.
Okay.
I'm going to show you what these are. Your goal is to get at least 7 out of the 10, correct? There they are.
10.
Top to bottom, 5 down, and then over to the right, yeah?
Yay.
Bien, ¿sí? Ah, bien. Bien, bien, good. Excelente, excelente. Okay, bien. And these are easy numbers. We'll do some more next week. They will be slightly harder, but yeah, we'll do some more. We're going to preview, and I'm going to send you actually a video to watch about higher numbers, things that go up to 100. I did send you a video. Did it go? No, did that other video I send you go all the way to 100? I'm trying to remember. I cannot remember.
I don't
think not. No,
think so.
no.
No.
Yeah, you'll get one that'll because it helps for you to hear the sounds. Yeah. So we're going to take a look at what happens once we do 30, 40, 50. But we're going to have patterns that are going to be pretty clear. Okay. And that will be helpful for you to remember what these are. Aquí vamos, here we go. We're going to look at 30. 30.
Okay.
Instead of 30, we're going to get this, some kind of iteration of enta. It might not be, it'll be ENTA a lot of times, so it's enta, right?
Enta.
30.
30.
30. And the first half of that, like 30, is based on the 3. Yeah. The first half of this is based on the 3. You can see that. 30.
Yes. 30.
Okay.
30.
But anytime I do 31, 35, 38, 39, it just becomes, again, it's like a math problem. 30 and 9, 30 and 7, 30 and 6, right? So it'll be 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 36, 37, 38, 39. But they're going to string it all together like that. Nobody will pick them apart and say 39. It'll sound like 39.
Yeah.
It's going to all slide together. Yeah. 39. 39, right? You starting
39.
out, if you say these, we'll need to go slower. 39. Yeah, and that's okay. But when you hear it, it will not go that slowly. Just so you know, para que sepan, so you know. Okay, let's look at the other patterns to get up to 100. Okay, because that's what we're going to focus on with our practice next week. We've got, instead of 4, we get 40.
40.
40.
Okay.
40.
And I gotta take the E8 off. 40. In English, that TY is 4T, right? But that enta becomes like their version of the English TY, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. 40. And again, we're just gonna add on 42, 45. Yeah, that it'll follow that same pattern. Our 50 word will be 50.
50.
50.
50. 50 is 50. It's kind of built on cinco, right? 50. Okay. All right. And these two are the ones that people mix up because look at them. The next two are only different by 1 letter. Ooh, so you have to listen really, really hard when people say these words because there's only 1 letter that's different. 60 is like seis, but we take the letter I out of seis, it becomes 60.
60.
60. 2 S's. 60. Okay.
60.
70, we take the I out of siete, it becomes 70.
70.
70. Bien,
70.
70.
Yes, so,
Ocho is pretty easy. We just drop the O off the end. Ocho becomes 80.
okay.
80.
80.
Okay,
80.
80, right? 9, that UE, you're gonna find in a lot of times in Spanish, UE and O kind of do flippy flops. And this is one case of when that happens. 9 is 9, but in the higher numbers, the UE condenses into the letter O. O, 90,
90.
90.
90, see?
90.
Growing up, good Catholic girl, novenas. Oh my goodness. Yeah, my mother would be like, oh, we got to go to church, go for the novena. Like, yeah. 9 days of prayer. A lot of those old things come from the Latin. Yeah, novenas and 90, 90. Thank God it wasn't 90 days of prayer. Okay, here we go. And then we've got 2 words for 100, but it kind of depends. If the word is 100 on the button, 100, it gets the shorty form, and the shorty form is 100.
100.
Yeah.
Okay, so $100 is $100. Okay, 100 pesos would be 100 pesos.
100.
100 cars are in the lot at the dealership would become 100 carros. Okay,
Mhm.
100. But once we add anything to 100, it goes to the longer form. And that is ciento.
100.
Ciento. So 101,
Mm.
102. And the video I'm going to show you shows how they count up. Okay. From 100 to 120. 120, 120. Ciento. And notice there's no E there yet. So with the video you're going to watch about numbers, check out very, very carefully. With the double digits, we always have the E, and we won't always. It kind of depends on what the very last digit is. If something higher than 0 is in the last digit of a number, then we need the E. You'll see it in the video. It'll make sense. And we'll do some practice on it later. Okay. Yeah. So I want to just introduce those. You know what? I am kind of skipping one thing over. I had given you something to look at
yeah.
with some numbers. Yeah. And the purpose of giving you this is just to give you a cheat sheet, if you will. Yeah. To get up to 30 and to show you what the sequence looks like. I'm going to tell you what these numbers are, or maybe you could tell me what these numbers are. Let's look at the numbers in the number 1 category here.
Okay.
We've got the first one done for us, 28. What's this next number?
15.
15, bien. What's this
15.
next number here? ¿Cuál es?
Yeah.
32.
32.
How about this one?
11.
11.
11, bien. How about this one?
8.
8.
8, bien. How about this one?
26.
26, magnífico. 13.
13.
13.
13, perfecto, sí. 30.
30.
30, magnífico. 20.
20.
20.
Bien. 14.
14.
14. 16.
16.
16. Bien, sí. 5.
5.
5. 29.
29.
29, sí. 37.
37.
Y 7. 37.
37.
37, but fast. 37. Right?
37.
Okay, bien.
Sí.
And if you want to practice the bottom section together, you can kind of do that for your own edification there. I'm going to give you another set for next week that is going to do and it'll look like this. It's like a cheat sheet chart format, and you'll get the chart with 40 up to 100. Okay. So it's going to drill you on the 40 through 100 items, and you'll get that for the coming week. Okay. Yeah. What we want to do next Oh, and I should ask, hay una pregunta, any kind of question on the whole number thing before we move up?
Nope.
No, okay, bien. What we want to talk about next is a little bit about, verbs and pronouns. Ouch. Now, this is going to
Ugh.
become, oh, yeah, this is going to hurt slightly. But only slightly. Okay. You started to see this in chapter 3 a bit. Bien. Okay. There are some verbs. Verbs are they're one of the bugaboos. It's kind of like the thing with gender, you know, masculine, feminine nouns, and English doesn't do that. Well, English does do this, but in a much more sort of truncated, pared down way. We're going to take a look at these 4 verbs. You already started to see these 4 verbs in your chapter book. You start to see that tail end one there. But we're going to talk about how they have different forms, why they have different forms, and all that. Okay, so first of all, these are common verbs. I is always, this is the gimme. It's the gimme of the group. I just says there is. It also means there are. And that's the only form you have to know is I. So it never changes its form. But the other 3 are going to change forms depending on who you're talking about. So let's take a look. Ser means to be.
To be.
It's a verb. Okay, ser. And it is not a verb of action. It is what we call a verb of being. Oh, isn't that helpful? Well, yeah. Ser.
Ser.
Estar also means to be. Here is the problem. These 2 are the ones we're going to really focus on today and for the coming week. Both ser and estar mean to be, but they are used in different situations that we don't have in English. Okay. Let's make it even worse because it will get worse. They are irregular verbs, meaning when we put them into their forms to use them in a sentence to talk about somebody, they have a form that doesn't follow the regular patterns of a regular verb. Now, English does this too. Our infinitive, these are infinitives, meaning this is just a form that doesn't tell you anybody doing anything, okay? In English, we have infinitives, and they always use the word to be, to walk, to talk, to sing, to dance. We always have to, right? Spanish, they're always going to be an ER or an AR or an IR at the end. So ser means to be, estar means to be. We'll come back to that in a bit. We want you to know these 2, the forms of the various forms we use to create, to formulate a basic sentence, to tell that somebody is a certain way, to say they are a certain way. And we'll talk about why they have 2 verbs. Tener means to have.
To have.
As an ownership kind of have. Not the kind of have of, wow, I have seen that movie 5 times.
Okay.
Because my kids loved it when they were little. I have not that have. It's got to be the have as in you own something, you possess it, okay? Tener sometimes means possess. It is sometimes used in special idiomatic phrases that are not translated directly. So, por ejemplo, for example, tener becomes a problem very quickly because when we say I am hungry, they say I have hunger.
Yeah.
When we say she is 11 years old, they say she has 11 years. Oh, so tener becomes a problem right from the get-go, because not only does it mean, is it used to say like you have a car, you have a dog, it's also used in special idiomatic phrases, okay? We'll come back to that later. here's what we're going to focus on now. I is the really, really super one. It is always I. It is never anything else. It's just that. And this has a link to the little video you watched. Actually, I think a couple weeks back. Okay. But
Okay.
the other verbs, the ser, estar, tener, they look
Yeah.
at who is the subject of the sentence. That is, who are we talking about when we use this verb? Okay. So we need to know what the subject is first. That means we need to know subject pronouns. In other words, how to say I, you, he, she, they, we, you guys. Some of these you already know from greetings. You've heard them before, but we're going to take a look. Each verb, ser, will get a separate form if you're talking about I, or you, or he or she, or they, or we. Every verb will do this. So this chart business sorts the human beings we're talking about when we say a sentence, okay? And they're called first person, means I'm talking about myself. Second person, mean I'm talking to you. Yeah? And third person, I'm talking about somebody else, okay? Now, normally you don't give a rip first person, second person, third person. It's a grammar thing. But what you really want to know is the way you say I is yo.
Yo.
Yo. So for every verb, ser and estar and tener, only a certain verb form will match up with that subject yo. Like you can't say in English, I has money today. That doesn't make sense, right? Because has doesn't match up with I. I has is not a thing. Okay. So a special form will be created for each one of these human beings, depending on who we're talking about. Yo will always get a special verb. Yo means I. It is not capitalized unless it's the first word of a sentence. Okay. And sometimes it isn't even they don't even bother to say it, but it's important to know that a specific verb form will match up with yo, and only with that idea of yo, I'm doing it. Tú, you,
Tú.
second person singular, because it's only one person. Yo is only one person. That's why we call it singular. Okay. Tú is only one person, so singular. So the friendly you. Tú will always get a special verb form, no matter what the verb is. If we're talking about somebody, if I'm not talking about me, if I'm not talking to you directly, if I'm talking about one person or the formal you, that's called third person singular. And the pronouns for that category are él, meaning he, ella, meaning she,
Ella.
usted, meaning
Usted.
you, but the formal you. Él or ella means he or she. All it means is we're talking about one human being. And él or ella are shorter words, like if you say, Tom called me yesterday. Tom said we have to go to the store. Tom said we need to buy. You don't keep repeating Tom. You say Tom first and then you say he. Tom called me. He said he is buying this stuff, right? So that's what the he is about. So él, we could substitute a name like Tomás, like Luis, right? We could, ella, we could substitute a gal's name, Maria, Anita, yeah, okay, so you get the idea. Then we get the plural pronouns. If I am in the group, but I got people with me, that means it means we.
We.
And we is the word nosotros.
We. Nosotros.
Nosotros. Nosotros is we. There is a strictly feminine form, but then it means everybody in the we group got to be a woman.
Okay.
It's just what they do. Okay. So there is a word nosotras with an AS at the end. Just know it'll still use the same verb, but it's a feminine we. You don't hear it that much, but okay, it exists. Nosotros, nosotras. This one you don't need to know so much unless you're going to Spain. This is the plural of tú. It means, hey, you guys, and you're all buds. We're all on a first name basis. Latin America does not use vosotros. As a matter of fact, Latin America hates this word, no, vosotros. They hate it. They don't use it. They don't use the verbs for it. They could give a rip. So you won't hear them use it, but Spain, all the time. You go out with your buds, it's vosotros. Oye, vosotros. Hey, guys. Hey, you guys. Yeah, so, okay. That's second person plural. Third person plural. Instead of he, it's they. Instead of she, it's they. Oh, we don't have a gender for they. They do.
They.
Okay. So mixed group or all guys is ellos. All gal group, they is ellas.
Yes.
Ellas.
And then
Ellas.
we've got the you plural, ustedes.
Ustedes.
And you see ustedes, of course, abbreviated a lot of times. So just get used to that. It does not mean we pronounce it uds. It's just the abbreviation, like abbreviating Mr. to MR period. It's like that. Okay. And usted similarly gets that. Okay. So every time we use a verb, we have to know who we're talking about. And the verb will morph, change into a specific form if we mean I am, or you are, or he is or she is, or we are, or you guys are. We won't focus on that one because it's not used in Latin America, or they are, or you guys are. Okay. And all these three, él, ella, usted, they use the same kind of verb, right?
Mhm.
Ellos, ellas, ustedes, they use the same verb. These words here don't mean the same human being, but they use the same kind of verbs. Okay. So subject pronouns will determine what verb you use. You can read that. Oh, except to say, except to say, ser, estar, and tener are a little bit harder. Most of the time, these verbs follow a pattern, but ser, estar, and tener are irregular, and English, they're also regular. So we have the verb to be, but then it becomes I am. Am doesn't look like be. I am, you are, he is, she is, they are.
Mhm.
None of those look like be or sound like be. Okay, so ours are regular too. Okay. Verbs beyond these three, but also these three, will follow a regular logical pattern, usually, except for these that are irregular. Still, verbs always tell who does the action. They change into a form because they automatically say who's walking, who's cooking, who's playing guitar, who's driving the car. They tell you who does the action. Most people do not bother to say the pronouns like yo and tú and nosotros. We have to say I am. Essentially in Spanish, you just say am. Because there's only one verb that matches up with yo. So if only one verb matches up with yo, why would I bother with the yo? I'll just use the verb by itself. So you're going to see them matched up, yeah, right now, so that you know how they pair up. But just know,
Yeah.
people drop the word yo, they drop the word tú, they drop the word nosotros all the time because the verb tells the whole story. The verb always tells the whole story. Okay, that's kind of a hard thing for us to get used to. Okay, let's look at ser. We're going to take a real brief look at what these two verbs are, ser and estar. And I'm going to give you a video that will talk about ser and estar. These are very, very funky. We only have to be. Am is our. Yeah, okay. Ser is used to mean to be when we identify who somebody is. Oh, like soy Marilyn. Yeah. Instead of saying me llamo Marilyn, my name is, I can say soy Marilyn. I am. Right? Soy. We use it to talk about telling what somebody does for a living, a profession. We use it to tell where somebody is from. We use it to tell what that person is really like, their characteristics. We use it to talk about relationships, like if somebody is a mom or is a child or is a grandpa. Okay. And we use it to tell time, and we won't see telling time for quite a long time. Okay, here are the forms of ser. Okay. These are the forms. If I'm talking about yo, and I want to say I am, I just need that one word, soy. I can say yo soy. Yo soy, I can, but people won't bother with the yo, usually.
Mhm.
Soy, I am. Ser becomes to say you are, eres.
Yes.
And notice it's got an S at the end. Two verbs get all of them, no matter what they are, regular or irregular, get an S at the end. They do. He is, she is, you formal, you is. You can do that. Es. Él es, ella es, usted es. Wow, this looks a lot like is. So
Yeah.
this one usually, this one's easy to remember. Yeah. Yes. Okay. We are. Somos.
Somos.
All the nosotros verbs will always have a mos at the end. All of them. In every tense, for every verb, they all have a mos. You hear a mos, you know they're talking about a we. Somos. Sois, this is the vosotros part. We won't be using that. Third person plural to talk about they or
They.
you guys. It is son.
You.
Son.
All.
They are or you are. Okay.
Ustedes.
And all of the third person plural, all of the they verbs get an N at the end. All of them. So just kind of tuck that in your back pocket, because if you get used to that pattern, you'll start to recognize who they're talking about a little more easily. So I'm going to go through what these are again. Soy,
Soy.
eres,
Eres.
es,
Es,
Es.
somos,
somos,
Somos.
and then we'll skip down here. Son.
Son.
Okay. So
Somos.
there are the forms of ser.
Okay.
Likewise, estar means to be, but here's a little dumb phrase that'll help you remember. To talk about how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. For how you feel or where you are, that's why when we ask, how are you? It's, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? How do you feel? Okay. For how you feel or where you are. So estar is used not to identify who somebody is or what they're really like most of the time. Estar is used to talk about location, where something is located, and it's used to talk about health and how you feel. Feelings and health. Feelings and health. For how you feel or where you are, always use the verb estar. And I'm going to send you this whole
Okay.
Google list. Yeah.
Yeah.
So estar is used, you could say in general, for location and for things that are easily changeable. You feel happy today. You get a bill in the mail, your day goes down the toilet. Yeah. It changes. So how you feel can change. Here are the forms of estar. Estar is irregular, but the form for yo is estoy.
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 Estoy bien. I'm good.
Muy
Estoy bien. I'm well. Literally, yeah. Estás.
Está.
The two form. It gets an S.
Tú.
Estás.
Estás.
Él está. Ella está. Usted está. ¿Cómo está usted? How are you? ¿Cómo está usted? How you feeling? Yeah, okay. Nosotros gets estamos. It gets a mos. Estamos. Here's the vosotros. Estáis. We're not going to use that one. And here's the they or the you guys form of estar. Están. Están. Okay. So we use these for location health, feelings. Location, health, feelings. Okay. I'm going to send you a little video that will help you with that a little bit. Do know that when do you ser and when do you use estar is a thorny thing. It is hard. It takes a long time to adjust to. We're not even going to really look at tener. I will send you you can see what tener looks like, but we won't touch on that yet today. We're going to focus on ser estar. Okay. Yeah. But here is just an example of how you may hear this used. Okay. And I want you to notice that ser talks about what she's really like or what she really does or where she's from, things that are not easily changed. Okay, things that are kind of permanent, you could say. It's not totally true, but yeah, okay. Se llama, her name is, that's not even it's a different verb. Se llama Simone Biles. Es gimnasta. She's a, it's what she does. It's got to be said. Es campeona olímpica.
Olympic champion?
She's an Olympic champion. It identifies who she is. It doesn't tell you how she feels. Who she is. Es campeona olímpica. Está emocionada. Está emocionada de ganar medallas. She's excited to win medals. Excited is not who she is, it's how she feels. Está emocionada de ganar medallas. Es baja y musculosa. She is short and muscular. That's what she's like. In 5 hours or even in a week, she's not going to grow 5 inches or get flabby that fast. Yeah, physically, this is just what she is like, said. And now we switch over to that other verb, which you've seen a little in the book. Tiene el pelo negro y los ojos marrones. She has black hair and brown eyes. She has these physical things, yeah. Es de Estados Unidos. She's from the United States. Where she's from is never going to change. She may live in 5 different places, but where she's from originally is not, it can't change. It's always that thing. Es de, she's from, from. Es de Estados Unidos. Está en Texas practicando. She's in Texas practicing. Okay. She's in right now. I'm talking about where she is right now. Está en Texas practicando. She's in Texas practicing. Tiene 25 años. This is one of those special forms of have. I know you have years. Tiene 24 años. I probably need to change it to 25. Tiene cuidado cuando ella practica. She is careful when she practices. She has to. So I'm going to show you that whole thing because you see in practice how we use these 3 different verbs.
Gosh.
And if you feel like, oh my God, I'm drowning, well, welcome to the club. This is a normal thing. It takes a while to get accustomed to it, right? You're going to get accustomed to this verb goes into many different forms, depending on who it talks about. And you're getting accustomed to, oh no, now I got to know when to use this verb ser or this verb estar. Yeah, so yes, it will feel a little bit uncomfortable for a while. But I'll send you some homework just so you practice the forms. Okay. And we won't touch too much on tener yet this week, but I do want you to check that out. I want you to check out just you got a little blurb. The very first part of chapter 4 goes into estar. So I'll give you the page numbers just so that you see that in the actual book. But you won't need to know everything about chapter 4 for right now. I'm going to have you just look at chapter 4 that talks about estar. Okay, bien. Higher numbers, ser, estar, maybe a little tener. We'll start to get our feet wet with that, right? To talk about how we identify people, what they are, where they're from, what they do, how they feel, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay,
Bien.
okay, yeah. Yeah, and paciencia, patience, because these are little, they're like little Lego blocks, and you gotta like be able to put a couple together at a time. If you push yourself to feel like I must have all these memorized immediately and no, ain't gonna happen. Yeah, you gotta like hear a lot of examples, see a lot of examples, hear more examples, see more examples. And the more examples you hear, by the time you get to example number 50, you're gonna start to feel like, oh, I kind of see what they're doing here.
Mhm.
And I can tell what they're talking about. Okay, yeah,
Okay.
Bien.
yeah. Okay, so intro to those little verbs and numbers, higher numbers you're gonna work on this week, and that'll be about it. Eso es todo. Sí, bien,
Bien.
Bien.
excelente. Muy bien. If you have a question midweek, type it out, shoot it to me on email. We're good to go. Okay,
All right.
Okay.
perfecto. Bueno, okay, y vamos a practicar. We're going to practice next week. I'll have you talking about some people you see in pictures. Okay. Hasta luego.
Buenos días.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Gracias.